Basically somewhere just to put your feet.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey, you get really strong legs, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, wow. From Travelandtash. On my last video you might have remembered that we walked past this particular horse, Hyperion, and I remarked, horse just passing right there, I remarked that this particular horse was probably very famous for Newmarket. It so happens that he was not just famous for Newmarket as in having been raised and raced here, but he also happens to be one of the world's most famous racehorses of the entire 20th century. He doesn't actually look particularly tall for a racehorse. He only stood at 15 hands. You can tell that I've been doing my research and reading lately. Interestingly enough, the sculpture was made after he died. He lived from 1930 to 1960. Since the sculptor created this after he died, the mystery remains, how did the sculptor make such a well-proportioned statue? Well, the answer lies in the National Horse Racing Museum, which is now across the street. It used to be part of the Jockey Club. We're going to join a guided tour and we're going to meet some horses that are retired, that are now being retrained to find new homes after their horse racing career. This new location, the building was only completed in 2016, so it's relatively new. Really cute postcards here, and two of my lucky subscribers that leave comments in the description below are gonna get personalized postcards sent from me from the museum. So I just learned that there's currently an exhibition that is in this gallery over here. Time and Motion, Jane Odell. I can see already that this place is super children friendly. There's a scavenger hunt. Can you find something bigger than you? Very old, weird, with a pattern. I get the impression that my kids in Korea would love this museum. Understand the science behind the creation of the ultimate thoroughbred horse. Try out your jockey skills on this simulator in King's Yard. Yeah.
Charlie's available. This is
Hi.
Hello.
Oh yes.
Good to meet you.
some of the tour.
Yes,
This is Sue.
nice
Nice
our
to meet you,
yard
Sue.
manager.
Yeah.
I did just explain that you're off today, so
Yeah, but I'm still I'm riding anyway.
Oh,
So
okay.
So guys, we're here with Stefan. Stefan, do you want to tell us what you do at the museum?
Yeah, so I'm the marketing manager at the museum, but my job is to make sure that the museum is promoted in the best possible way. So Frankel's one of the, I'd say he's one of the best known racehorses in the country. He's got a phenomenal race record. I think he ran 1:14, and this statue was kindly donated to the museum, so it very much forms a centrepiece of our yard. So this is the King's Yard, so it's the former yard which belonged to the Sporting Palace over the road, which we'll have a look at in a minute.
The tendons in the limbs act like coiled springs, storing energy by stretching, then releasing energy explosively to drive the horse forwards.
Originally we were based on the High Street, which is just the next street across, in quite a small site, and that was just quite simply the building. So we moved to this site because, as you said, it allowed us to incorporate the Retraining of Racehorses charity. And we've also incorporated the British Sporting Art Trust as well. So the museum is now a 5.5 acre site in the heart of Newmarket.
Oh wow.
And it brings together the National Horse Racing Museum, the British Sporting Art Trust and the Retraining of Racehorses Trust. And for us, in terms of supporting us, the best way, you know, is obviously to come along and have a look and buy a ticket and come to the museum and see what we do.
Yeah.
We are the only horse racing museum in the UK. We are the national museum for that particular sport. So for us, this represents a really good opportunity to come and have a look at the history of the sport, some of the science behind the sport, the breeding of thoroughbreds.
Also, there's an electronic explanation about the scientific way in which horses run and what's going on internally in terms of their organs and the muscles and the blood that flows and the oxygen.
When a horse goes over a jump, their muscles have to work even harder, lifting over half a ton of jockey and horse off the ground. As the horse approaches the jump, there's a minute. With every stride, they can breathe in 15 litres of air, delivering oxygen into their bloodstream.
The museum has an exhibit which gives visitors the chance to compare human and horse weight distribution. It explains that horses walk, run and jump on the equivalent of a human, placing all their weight on their middle fingers. The museum also has a family tree which begins in the 1700s and connects thoroughbred lineage all the way to present-day racehorse champions, including Frankel. That's more than 300 years of documented thoroughbred history.
And then obviously we've got the retraining of racehorses as well, so that's where we take in some of the retired racehorses with varying levels of success within their careers. We work with them to make them more suitable for everyday riding.
She's standing here with her eyes shut, half asleep actually, but she is a cracking little mare. You will see when you come up to the arena when I'm going to be working her, she actually could make a really good little competition horse.
They often go on to stay with local families and they'll stay with us for about 3 months. At any given time we have 4 or 5 horses here, and we've got a dedicated team whose job it is to work on exercise, work on diet, work on retraining.
She's been here with us for just over 3 months now, about 3.5 months. Particularly her canter needs more work, but she's very willing, she is very able.
Racehorses inherently are quite highly strung.
There's no guarantee they're going to see their racing career out without injury, but it doesn't mean it's life-ending or threatening or anything like that. It just means that they might have to come out of racing at some point and be retired.
In terms of the team that manage a horse, so you've got the owner, who
Yes.
oftentimes can be somebody like a lord or a lady.
Yes.
Then you have the jockey, and then you have a trainer. Is the trainer the jockey, or are they separate people?
They're separate normally.
Horses are retired because they don't like it. We got one horse here that you just saw Sue take out, actually isn't that keen on having other horses around her. You know, the idea of going on a run in a herd of horses sounds fantastic, doesn't it? You don't like other horses, then that's not your natural instinct. So what we're going to do this afternoon is I'm going to show you the horse walker, then we're going to go up to the arena and have a look at the filly having a bit of a canter, having a bit of a trot.
Broadly speaking, as you say, you've got the owners, they're the people with the money, the funding.
Yeah.
They will acquire the horses and they will often have them housed in their own stables. They then employ one head trainer, let's say for example, whose role it is to oversee the development of all of those horses whilst they're within those stables. They then choose jockeys to suit those horses, and sometimes they'll have retained jockeys. So if we think about the Gosdens and their relationship with Frankel Dettori, whilst he's not their go-to jockey, he's very much high up on their list of people to use or to employ to ride that horse. So trainers will have their preferred jockeys because they know about their technique, they know about their style, they know about their ability. It's the trainer's job to really understand that relationship, and then to not only employ the correct training techniques for that horse in terms of daily exercise and diet and that kind of thing, but also to make sure that they know the jockeys and that they kind of build that relationship as they go.
Yeah, that trust.
Exactly, it's all about trust. And when we talk about the duration of races and what we're asking those jockeys to do with those horses, it is quite a unique relationship. So yeah, absolutely. Within a stable, and just go back to your earlier point, within a stable there may be stable hands as well, so they'll be responsible for some of the day-to-day riding of the horses. So if you go to Newmarket first thing in the morning, you'll see hundreds of horses being ridden around the town. That's their daily exercise regime. That's That's not normally done by the actual jockeys, that's done by the stable hands.
What's his name?
That's Tyson.
Tyson? Oh, he sounds very strong. Hi, Nene.
And that's Sam.
Hello, Sam.
Each stable hand will have a handful of horses they're responsible for.
And they'll ride them out several times in the morning, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I understand.
We've got here a horse weighing machine. Okay, let's see where we are now. No, still no good. 414 stone, one more thing. Right, let's give it a second to readjust. 600 kilos. So that's about the weight of a horse. At least 20 small people to equal a horse. So they're pretty big, aren't they? Anyone want to hop up on the viewing platform if you wish? Uncle Johnny here, now called Shadow. And over here we have Adelaide called Paddy. Now she's a 4-year-old, quite small filly, and he's a 4-year-old who doesn't quite know what to do with himself yet. He didn't like racing, and neither did she. So, but he liked fillies, so that's why we've got a little bit of separation between them.
We're being hosted by Sue and Sue.
Arena at the moment we have.
For us, it's about moving away from that level of involvement and that level of expertise and making them more kind of everyday riding horses, because they've got the right temperament, which then makes them fantastic family horses as well, and it obviously gives them an additional purpose once their racing career is finished.
That's a sort of thing a jockey would ride in.
Oh, it's super light.
That weighs a pound, and you get half-pound ones as well. You get ones half that size.
So I wanted to ask Stefan a really important question. The question is, what's your favourite piece at the museum? Something that you find really interesting, or that has an important story behind it? Or
so we've got lots of old racing silks. We've got lots of old artifacts and trophies from some of the original races, which I think are really important because they talk about the history of the sport, and they kind of show us where the sport's come from, and without that we can't really add any context where the sport's moving to today. So for me they're really important. I think also some of our external pieces, such as the Frankel statue we've talked about, visually stunning, and in terms of craftsmanship, really well made.
It's basically somewhere just to put your feet, because you don't sit on a racehorse.
But I think ultimately, for me, the thing that gets the most engagement and the most interest is our racing simulator. So we've got it's called an equisizer. It's a simulator which some of the jockeys come to use. They have them in racing yards. We've got a mobile one which we take out with us when we do off-site days, etc. And for us, that's a way of demonstrating to our, in particular, our younger audience, just how hard it is to be a jockey and what's involved in being a professional jockey. They get to dress up in the silks as well, and there's a TV screen which they get to ride along, so it immerses them into the experience.
Brian is here and he's explaining about basically the colours that you can wear that are registered with particular owners.
We've got ex-jockeys who operate the racing sim, so they can talk to you about technique, they can talk to you about some of the things that you might be a little bit uncertain about, they can talk to you about position and that kind of stuff.
Your posture. And
posture, that's a good word.
I'm going to wear blue and...
Well, that's Godolphin's colours.
Godolphins?
That's Godolphin's
Okay,
colours.
I really like that blue. I saw a little video on it actually before coming, and it was quite funny how you just have to kind of like suspend yourself like mid-air.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is quite different for racehorses is the seating position is quite different. Your legs are quite high up, so we're asking people to adopt a slightly unnatural stance, which initially feels a little bit counterintuitive.
My knees hit here, and then I need to hold the reins.
I like to have a little bit of contact with the saddle.
Okay.
You can feel what the horse is doing underneath you. Shall I show you again?
Yes, please.
Right.
I think you get really strong legs, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You do that regularly?
Yeah, I think there's a definite correlation between strength and horse racing. I think some of the jockeys, albeit quite small, are quite strong.
Double bridge. Cross your reins. Hands down there.
Yeah.
about so far apart so your thumbs can touch.
Okay.
When you think of racehorsing, it's not just about the stamina of the horse, it's about the stamina of the jockey as well. So they need to be able to sustain that level of involvement with that particular horse for the duration of that race, whether it's a 1 mile or a 4 mile race.
Yeah.
That horse will only run as well as its jockey.
Sit still.
Okay.
Less is more.
Yeah.
You don't want to interfere with them too much. The more you interfere with them, the more it affects their stride.
Okay.
So get them into a nice rhythm.
I hadn't thought about that actually.
Yeah, so it's really important that the jockey's on his game, or on his or her game,
Yeah.
I should say, because that will get the best out of the horse. And when we think about some of the more famous jockeys such as Frankel and the late Lester Pigott, they really nailed that technique, and their relationship with their horses is quite extraordinary.
We'll get you there, don't you worry.
You can straighten me out if I do something wrong.
I will.
Okay, so
The ability to get the most out of that horse, whether you've ridden it before or not, if it's your first time on it, to have that instant bond and that instant awareness of what to do is quite remarkable.
Wow.
And ultimately what leads to a successful racing career for those jockeys.
so now
So you want to
I hold this.
you need to double bridge them like that,
Okay.
and your hands can be flat,
And then thumb
like this,
distance.
like that.
Like that.
No. like that.
So I need to hold my hands, hook them in here.
Yes. Put your hands flat, like you're playing a piano. Knees slight. Push your knees back a bit. That's it. Squeeze them in just there. That's it. Keep your hands down.
Okay.
Back flat. Shall I get it to move a bit for you?
Yeah.
Just do it slowly. Yeah.
Okay.
Very slowly.
Oh wow.
Keep yourself still. Keep those hands pushed down. As it goes forward, push your hands down.
Okay. Whoa. Goodness, this is like riding a camel. This is really cool. I love it.
I've ridden some that aren't much faster than camels. I'll tell
Oh,
you.
really?
Yeah.